I watched Shazam, the new one.
Uh-huh.
I spent the $20 to rent it.
And it was terrible?
So it was literally as it was beginning, I was like, man, they really decided to just go all the way back to 2002 with their superhero movie writings, huh? I was like, it felt like an early 2000s like setup, like villains and their thing.
Well, I mean, that's how the first one felt too.
Yeah, but like the first one, since it was kind of an origin story,
yeah,
like it was kind of like, oh yeah, what is this power that this kid is gonna get? It was, but it felt like the beginning to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where it was like, boom, bad guy taking stuff, and then all of a sudden, now we go to the heroes type thing. I was like, man, all right, like it's just, and then just overall,
isn't there beef now with Dwayne Johnson and what's his name?
I don't know, something about that. Like Dwayne Johnson's all butthurt because they don't want to continue the Black Adam franchise because it was a fucking bust. Because I feel like, I don't know.
Didn't he also refuse to let his Black Adam be in Shazam or something like that?
Yeah, he didn't want Black Adam to be the villain 100%. It's like,
but that's kind of the thing.
He wanted to focus on Black Adam's anti-hero status.
But then we need him to be a villain before he becomes an anti-hero.
Yeah, I know. But no, like Shazam, Fury of the Gods, it has troubles in its narrative sense and just like it feeling just kind of like a outdated superhero film. It just kind of felt like kind of like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, I thought you were going to just say Doctor Strange.
No, I mean even Doctor Strange kind of is a meh, but like Doctor Strange is, I think, a little bit more interesting than Multiverse of Madness.
Really, I feel different.
I like watching Scarlet Witch as a villain in Multiverse of Madness more, but like when it comes to actual like how the story, like how the arc goes and the hero's journey goes, I think Doctor Strange is a better story. And then for Shazam, the one thing that was kind of is you see Billy struggling with what it means to be a leader, and then but by the end of it, and they even have a fucking joke about it. It's like Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious. It's about family.
Speaking of Billy too, I have a correction from Still Crazy, real quick. And you know how when you listen to a podcast and they're talking,
yeah,
and you know the answer, so you start like screaming at them.
Yeah,
I did that.
Revel does that to us all the time.
I did that with myself.
Yeah,
which was weird and meta.
I've done that to myself listening to it back to us. Yeah,
but I was saying that Billy Connolly was a Muppet in Muppet's Treasure Island with conviction. Yeah. I recognize his voice. No, he's Billy Bones in the beginning, and he gets the black spot. He's the one that has the map.
Oh, you said Treasure Island, not Treasure Planet.
What?
When you asked me about,
I
was like, dude, I was thinking Treasure Planet.
Oh no!
But even still, I haven't. Well,
I just meant like that character's name. What is his name? Billy Bones is the one that gets the black spot. But So Billy Connolly plays Billy Bones
in Treasure Planet, Treasure Island. Muppets Treasure Island,
and Jimmy. Yeah, no. And as I was listening to that, and I saw the scene, and I was like, you fucking idiot. I just hate when you say it with conviction and you're really wrong.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Correction on that. So
I'm really good at doing that.
So sorry about that.
Let's do this.
All right. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape. That's the way it was. And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
With great power, you destroy great things.
And that's the way, I like it.
Okay. Hey, guys. Hello.
I don't know. I went to Bruce Almighty, but...
Yeah. Welcome to a new block.
Did you think of the name yet?
Superheroes, villainy, comic-ish, super-y stuffs.
Off the cuff, dark superhero origin movies.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's like I feel like super villain origin.
Yes. So we were doing 2012's Chronicle today.
Which I really excited to kind of do this block because what's really cool is to kind of like see the superhero trope get turned on its head.
Yeah, and Yeah,
and
because they're still tropes, but they're interesting tropes.
Yeah,
moments.
well, and it's a deconstruction and making it more realistic. It's not like and here he is to save the day.
Yeah, not Shazam.
Yeah.
It's like, but I did want to off the bat do a little bit of like a content warning. There is some moments in this of like parental abuse against their child and abusive behavior,
bullying
that we will be talking about. So just a heads up if that is something that you don't particularly care for. That's kind of a theme throughout this.
It's a very big theme.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
I mean, really, in the supervillain origin story, abuse is a really big theme. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we're just heads up.
Where do you think the villains come from?
Yeah, villain origin story. They're all not like Gru.
What is that?
Minions.
Oh yeah.
Despicable Me. He just wanted to always be a villain.
Oh my god. Side really quick. I watched Dragon Ball's Superhero. The newest Dragon Ball Super movie. Dragon Ball Z's new
aren't they fighting like Broly again or some shit?
No, that was the one previous. I watched. They redid Broly's story in Dragon Ball Super.
Okay.
But there's a character in it that looks almost identical to Gru as a child.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's like he's trying to be a superhero.
Oh, okay.
Which I was just like,
was that on accident or?
But anywho, so today we're talking about Chronicle. You want to give us a quick synopsis for those who haven't seen it? Because I don't know, I don't feel like this is an extremely popular film for a lot of people. Like definitely, I think there's a niche crowd.
Yeah,
for this. Yeah.
I actually didn't do one today. Three teenagers become embodied with telekinesis abilities.
There we go.
With drastic results, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, you can just get, with three teenagers get telekinetic abilities
in Seattle.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's actually kind of interesting. Like I did get distracted on that scene where they're like on top of one of the buildings and you just see the Seattle landscape. Yeah. I was sitting there, I'm like, can I see my apartment? I don't know. I don't think the water would be over there. Hold on a second here.
It also didn't look great. It looked kind of.
You could tell that it was.
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah. Well, the lighting was weird.
Yeah,
that's what it was. The lighting was just a little. Off.
Some of the CG and just this in general, and I think it's because of just like the type of style of camera they're using with like without being in front of like a green screen.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, too, this is in the realm of like found footage, kind of style, which I hate, but we'll get into that because it doesn't really bug me in this. And I'm kind of curious why.
And I think I know why.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, so Chronicle came out originally. It was premiered at the Gerardimer Fantasy Film Festival to good popularity, and then it was fully released in the United States and February 3rd. Kind of looked like more worldwide through like that first week of February.
Yes.
Number 50 domestically. Box office, so it was a success actually.
Well, yeah, because even then the budget was only $15 million and ended up grossing 126. So
yeah,
it did. And that's what's funny too. Like, I do know a lot of people that don't know this movie, but people were going to see it.
Yeah,
so it's like, especially at this time too, with 2012. Like, I mean, this year maybe that's why though.
Because it's what?
Well, like
11 years old.
Avengers came out. Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Maybe there was just maybe got lost in the superhero shuffle with all the
I don't think a lot of people really thought it was going to be any type of superhero thing. They saw found footage. So I think a lot of people that did go see it probably were more like expecting something else, like just like a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, like a sci-fi Blair Witch kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe a lot of people were like, oh, that was very different than what I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
How many movies did you have for 2012
this time? I got up to 48.
Yeah. Mine went up like 9.
Mine went up like 6.
Yeah, I got 35 from like 26 last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, wait a second.
Because mine was 43 last time from Magic Mike.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. I'm sitting there, I was like really looking at the titles and like, oh, wow. Like there's a lot of indie movies that came out this year that I watched.
Well, and it was like a lot of like, even like, in the last 6 weeks or however long it's been, I watched weirdly a lot of movies from 2012 and didn't realize
Interesting.
it. You know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, I just recently watched that a couple weeks ago for the first time.
Huh.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was 2012. Our director is Josh Trank.
Director, and I would say also like
and writer.
Writer, yeah.
Story.
This was his. Yeah, it was his story.
Yeah, it was just he had the idea of it in high school, and it was just something he kind of like sat on for a while.
Yeah, he just like slowly developed
it.
Yeah. Not a huge track record of like directing and writing.
Fantastic Four remake.
The big flop.
All big flops.
It's true, actually.
They're all flops.
Except for this one.
What?
Chronicle. This wasn't a flop.
No, I meant all the Fantastic Fours. Oh, all been flops.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's the one that never even got released,
which was a flop. I would consider that the ultimate flop.
God.
And then also the other one, the only one that stood out to me was Capone.
Tom Hardy, yeah. But that also got like super like that got torn apart before like Tom Hardy trying too hard as Al Capone. And also the casting of him as Al Capone.
What's the one with Tom Hardy where he plays the twins?
I don't remember the name. I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either. I've just seen clips of it and it looks good.
No. But I did notice that he has a movie in the works right now called it's The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, I'm curious.
Let's try again.
Well, it's Theodore Roosevelt. I remember as a kid I thought he was like the coolest like old president, you know, because he got shot twice during his presidency, like got shot and like finished a fucking president's speech and shit.
Yeah.
Like
it's pretty badass.
Like, he was right. There's a picture of him riding a fucking moose.
I didn't know that.
He started the Boy Scouts of America.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you knew so much about Roosevelt.
Like I said, Theodore Roosevelt was like one of my favorite presidents when I was a kid. And then
doesn't he play by doesn't Robin Williams
play him in Night at the Museum? Yeah. And problematic connected writer to this, Max Landis, who's just all around, I'm just going to say, is a piece of shit.
Yeah, it was banned from sets
due
to sexual assault allegations. So Josh Trank was like, bye.
Yeah, you're not allowed on set. And just a slew of just like stuff that, and it's like just even like in interviews, he's like even like admitted to just like being a misogynistic, like sexist asshole.
Oh yeah, no, like some of his quotes that I was reading online, I was like, whoa.
And you know, it's
he's like unapologetic.
This is like he's a weird example of like nepotism in Hollywood.
His dad, yeah.
John Landis, who is he's one of my favorite. Like he's in a very the movies that he's worked, directed, and done are very influential for me. Like he did Kentucky Fried Chicken movie, which is a weird like shtick of just a bunch of things. Airplane. He was involved with National Lampoon's Animal House.
Yeah, he's that kind of humor, that lane. Yeah.
So like, I mean, John Landis, very, very influential film director for a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
And the comedic directors and writers and stuff. So, and like, that was one of the things is that in one article, they were talking about how it's been a known secret in Hollywood how much of a piece of shit Max Landis is. Mm-hmm. But how do you his father is one of the most powerful directors in Hollywood, and now he's like, it's like stupid Hollywood royalty. And I'm glad
but then a lot of the Weinstein stuff and everything that started the movement where more people were coming out talking.
No, like it's like we're moving towards a thing of like of tearing that image and everything down and just making sure people aren't going to be people that won't have power like that anymore. Yeah. So yeah. Spent a little bit more time on that than I wanted to, actually. So this is Josh Trank's baby.
Yes.
Writer-director Josh Trank. And I guess we can just go into who's starring now, because this kind of like launched a couple of careers-ish, maybe?
Yeah, okay.
Or it kind of gave them the stepping stones to get to their breakthrough.
Well, yeah, so like one of our first teenagers is Dane DeHaan, who plays Andrew, who... What happened to Dane? I feel like I haven't seen Dane in anything in a minute.
I mean, I was looking at his thing, and it's like he also does a lot of theater.
Okay.
But like he's recently been in like just like some like mini TV series and stuff. But like I mean, Valerian in the City of 1,000 Planets. He was supposed to be.
Oh yeah, with
I never saw that.
I never did either.
But I mean, I think. Other than this, his probably next most recognizable is Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, he's Harry Osborn.
That's Harry Osborn, Green Goblin.
One I remember really liking was A Cure for Wellness.
I haven't seen that one.
I don't know. It was kind of like in that, not Inception. No, what's it called? Shutter Island. Kind of lane, kind of weird psychological thriller thing. It wasn't as good as Shutter Island, but I remember it being interesting. And then one of my actual favorite weird little indie, I guess it would be indie, is Life After Beth.
I was gonna say he kind of did like an indie thing as well with Aubrey Plaza, where she's like
she dies. It's his girlfriend. She dies and she comes back. It's like my boyfriend's back.
Yeah,
but it's like my boyfriend's back, but it's way darker and more. It's modern, you know. Yeah. But Aubrey Plaza as like this homicidal zombie. Ex-girlfriend that's still obsessed with her, because now the whole thing is he starts dating another girl and then she comes back
because she died.
Yeah, and it's if you haven't seen it and you like Aubrey Plaza,
I actually haven't seen it, but I like the premise. Really? I just know.
Oh yeah, you dig it. It's really good.
Sticking in with those like indies, like the indie drama that he was in, Kill Your Darlings.
That looks interesting.
Yeah, next with Michael C. Hall and Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah,
and they play
that cast alone. I was like,
yeah,
ooh.
And they play famous
poets
like from like the 1920s.
Something. Well, actually,
they're real people.
Yeah, but during what was it, World War II? What was it? I can't remember.
I mean, if I just look up,
a murder in the 40s draws together great poets of the Beat generation.
Yeah,
but yeah, it looks interesting.
The next one, I would say Alex Russell,
who plays Matt. Did we talk about him in Carrie?
We briefly did, because there was just like, I mean, I think.
Well, he played Billy, and is Billy the one that's supposed to take her to prom?
No. That's fucking Baby Driver. Ansel Elgort.
Oh yeah.
No, he plays the greaser bad boy with the bad girl that gets the blood and spills on Carrie.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's actually, when I saw a picture, I was like, he's not even recognizable almost.
No, I was like, he was in Carrie? Like, I don't remember that at all.
And then also, like, he's in The Host, which is the Stephanie Meyer's after Twilight stuff.
Oh, I thought you meant the Korean.
No.
It's like, what? I was like, I just watched that.
No,
not
day. Not that one.
And I just watched that for the first time.
I need to watch that still.
That's really good.
But yeah, so he's just kind of, he's been there in Hollywood a little bit. I don't know. Did you feel like his acting was? How did you feel about his acting in this movie?
It was
just like quick. Yeah,
it was fine until the like end fight scene.
Yeah,
Andrew! I was like, shut up. But I just thought that was a bad like writing moment. You didn't need to have him scream Andrew 16 times in that 10-minute scene. It was, you know, like, make him say anything else besides Andrew stop is all he said for the last 10 minutes. And I was just like, oh my God. So,
and then probably the most famous person to come from or to be in part of this movie is Michael B. Jordan.
God, he's a baby in this.
He's the same age as me.
He is so charming.
Yeah.
In this and like this too. I was like, I want to be your friend, Steve.
Well, I really like that they don't really lean into him being like, he's the popular kid running for class president, but he's actually a genuinely like,
he's a nice guy.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like he's not like,
as opposed to the bully trope they could have done.
Yeah. Where it's like, oh, but I'm a bully, but we find out that he's actually a nice guy.
He's just genuinely a nice guy the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Michael B. Jordan, he's strangely in Fantastic Four remake. That Josh Trank did.
Is he the Human Torch?
Yeah.
He is, right? Okay.
Which I find kind of amusing. What's
his name?
What do you mean?
Johnny Storm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I find it kind of amusing really quick that both actors that have played the Human Torch went on to be in the MCU as different characters. Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see what you're saying. For some reason, my brain went over to Dane. I'm like, well, Dane's not part of the MCU, like, because of the Goblin.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
Yes, but
That's
Chris
funny.
Evans is Captain America, and Michael B. Jordan went on to be a Killmonger.
Killmonger.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't think of that.
Both actually very pivotal, like, important characters in like the history of Marvel as well.
I was also gonna say side tangent. I was thinking about Michael B. Also Creed.
Yeah,
I love the Creed franchise. I haven't seen the newest one, but I was even just thinking about him as Killmonger, and I was like, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger was actually one of the most, in recent years, like, interesting villains that they've created for a while. I think he's in the top tier.
Because like what his mission, his like
he has a Magneto thing. You're like, you get him. You really are like, I see why you're doing this.
Yeah.
I maybe don't agree with it, but
I don't agree with your method.
But
well, it's kind of like how Thanos kind of was in Infinity War. It's like, man, I see what you're trying to do, but you're just doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, but
no, Michael B. Jordan.
Dude, I don't know if the MCU is ever going to be able to like reach that cap of like Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War era really ever again. Because that's the peak of it, in my opinion.
I think you can. Because, I mean, even Michael Fassbender is like a young Magneto. He's good. There's some villains in there that you could add in. Do you mean like that? Like villains?
I'm talking about like
just film-wise.
Just film-wise, good movies.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, Michael B. Jordan, I don't know if you looked at this, but I thought you'd find it kind of cool. He does the voice of Victor Cyborg in Flashpoint Paradox.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
He's actually he's got a little bit of like a voice acting thing. Like he's a character in Gears of War.
He'd be a good cyborg.
Yeah, he would be a good cyborg.
Yeah, like even just like yeah, he'd be a good cyborg.
And he got his fucking start really on The Wire.
As, like, I saw the Wire, Friday Night Lights.
So like he's good. He's fucking good. He's a damn good actor.
He's very good looking. Mm-hmm. I don't mind him being on screen. I'm like, God, it was like Killmonger too. I'm like, God damn. Jesus.
Do you remember all the thirst tweets that were happening about this?
Well, it's also watching this and then thinking about he's like so little and like young, and then he's like you're like, good God, man. All right. Good for you. Honorable mentions though, Michael Kelly is the dad. Mm-hmm. I really recognize him. I know he's always like a cop or an agent or something in the background. What?
Just all of your fucking gadgets going on your phone, your fucking watch.
Castillo brought to you. No, it's not. But yeah, I really recognize Michael Kelly as the asshole in Dawn of the Dead, and he's always like an FBI. Yeah. He's like a random FBI guy, cop somewhere.
He's generally in the search for something, kind of looking like this. Where am I?
Oh. Or reading the script. We lost them. God damn it! You know, like that guy. Yeah. But I do remember him too. He had a long stint in one of the Criminal Minds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't really know the storyline, but I remember when Fallon was really into it. I remember. Seeing
I was like, you watch Criminal Minds?
No, Fallon does. Oh. But I remember seeing him a lot, so I don't know if he was a killer or a cop or.
I'm trying to. I watched like season 6 or 7. So.
I think he's a killer because it's first name, the Prophet, last name.
Oh, then
the Prophet feels like a serial killer name.
Yeah.
And then our love interest for Matt was Ashley Hinshaw, who plays Casey. I didn't know anything that she was in.
Looking at her IMDb list, I was like,
she was in 2 shows called Startup and The Arrangement for a while, which those don't ring a bell to me. So, but she's also has screen time. She has a significant amount of screen time.
Her importance is more that she's a blogger, so we have another camera to look at.
Exactly. That's exactly which I like better than her just being the love interest for a love interest. They're like, oh no, we'll make her a love interest, but we'll now have another camera angle that we can use on the regular. Which I was like, that's actually a pretty clever idea. I guess. I don't know.
They found a way.
They found a way to make it work. I don't know. Like it's better than just being like, she's there. It's like, well, no, she actually has like a thing that she's doing for the, whatever.
All right. Well, I guess we can move into your,
Did you want to do your Rotten Tomato?
Yeah, I was move into review stuff. Decently, scores. So IMDb's got a 7.0. Tomato meter reading is 85%.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's so weird about
71% audience score.
There's the amount of people that don't know about this movie, and I'm like, it feels like people liked this movie.
I feel like it was just one of those movies that kind of like it happened, and people were like, oh, that was cool, and it just went on,
fizzled out into the nether.
Yeah, because I don't want to say there's anything super influential about this movie. Like it was creative in its way of found footage in a way, but like other than that, like. Unless like you're like really like into like superheroes or comic books and you really look at the build of a supervillain, it really just seems it is just kind of more like a sci-fi thriller.
Oh yeah, well, and actually that's a great segue actually. So for the reviews on Metacritic, there are 24 positive, 6 mixed, and 1 negative. Mm-hmm. The positive I got was my boy, 80 out of 100, Roger Ebert at Chicago Sun-Times. Josh Trank's Chronicle grows into an uncommonly entertaining movie that involves elements of a superhero origin story, a science fiction fantasy, and a drama about a disturbed teenager. Yeah. And I was like, that's interesting because it is all three of those things, and I think it does all three pretty well.
It really does.
It blends them well, and there's not a moment where you're like, oh yeah, the sci-fi thing's really cool, but the drama with the teenagers kind of bleh. You know, it's like everything kind of blends really well. I would only say that I think they needed to spend a little more time, because this movie's only like an hour and a half, which I was very surprised by.
I think it's a perfect amount of time.
But I was just say a little, maybe like 10 minutes more. I'm not really sure how you do it, but I feel like the teenager spiraling needed to be a little bit longer, a little more tension, because I don't know. I felt like that was a little.
Well, we'll talk about it. Let's finish off some reviews.
Mixed 50 out of 100. Vadman Rizzo at Box Office Magazine. A messy, if initially intriguing take on sci-fi underpinned high school angst for the vlogging age. Chronicle eventually grows repetitive and stale.
I think that's kind of where you're at.
Yeah. 38 out of 100 with the negative. Kyle Smith at New York Post. With great power comes the responsibility to make a decent movie, but the mysterious force running through Chronicle is the power to super suck.
That's a little mean.
It was brutal. You super suck.
Here I am, super suck.
A super suck. Blunt Man and Chronic with me.
It's that Jane Silent Bob in the background is rubbing off, isn't it?
I had to go turn it off. I couldn't take it. Couldn't take it. Every time I looked up, I was like, this movie makes me angry.
I love that movie.
And I'm just not into the stoner comedies anymore, really. Like, I tried to watch Harold and Kumar go to White Castle, and I had turned it off. I was like, I can't. It doesn't tickle me anymore. That like, it doesn't do it for me.
It's good background noise for me.
I get it. Like, totally, it's fair.
Anywho, all right. So we just totally derailed. Well, let's talk a little bit about this found footage style.
Yes, because I'm very curious why it didn't bug me as much as it usually does.
So I think why, like,
smooth.
It doesn't. It's in the style of found footage, but it's not found footage. And I think that's the thing, is that what found footage films generally are is a sense of people, like the biggest example is like Blair Witch Project. You're watching people that have just recorded themselves doing this event, and there just happens to shit happening to them that we now watch.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity. It seems like it seems to be more
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield is sorry, I'm just trying to think of if I like Cloverfield enough to say anything. Sorry.
Did you like Cloverfield?
I did like Cloverfield, yeah. But as opposed to it seeming like we're witnessing events just happen, we're witnessing people take control of a situation, like they have power of the camera, and in a sense we feel like there's an actual power or a control of a narrative that is coherently unfolding in front of us.
Yeah, and and I also think with this too is that it is really smooth because of the cool integration they did with the powers.
Yeah.
And how he becomes like the camera then becomes an actual extension of him.
Yes.
And also you're not having that oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That thing I get it, and I get people. It's one of those I want to like Blair Witch.
Quarantine.
Yes, Quarantine. That's another one.
God, that has one of the most terrifying moments, though.
Yeah, it does. But it's like I find it's kind of like with like Fallon, that 4D thing. Mm-hmm. Found footage just takes me out so much that even Quarantine has a great scary moment in it, but I'm so irritated at that point. I don't care anymore.
Fair, yeah.
And this one because I mean, the scene that keeps popping in my head is him laying in the bed, and he kind of. Oh,
and he's like watching.
He's just and it's very smooth.
Well, and then unsettling moments where then you hear in the background his father like freaking out about the mother's
the medicine and
money, and like you can. It's weird. It's like he's an abusive asshole, but he's someone who cares about his wife.
I think it's like. He blames the kid.
Yes, that's the problem. Yeah,
it's like you never get the vibe that he did anything to. I mean, but also she's sick, so who knows what happened in the past. But you never get the vibe that he does anything to the wife. But he definitely blames the son for pretty much all of everything going wrong in his life, and it's his scapegoat.
Does he call him dad?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, because like it's got like it's super like stepdad feels to it instead of like
he calls him dad when the dad is rummaging through his shit and he finds the camera.
And he does call him my father. He was
but then he calls him Richard when they're fighting.
Yeah,
and that causes like a whole situation. But even then, that's like kind of an interesting. I didn't really notice it. I love when we start talking about stuff and things start connecting. But even then, how interesting it is to watch the progression of the found footage because he has the first camera that's like 2004 and kind of crappy and it's real. Like that, shaky.
There's like
choppy
noise,
and
yeah.
And then he gets the nicer camera, but still and then it evolves into now that camera's become that extension that just kind of, it's like his little robot bud. Yeah. He just has it floating around him all the time. And that's kind of a cool evolution, at least aesthetically.
Yeah.
For a film.
Oh, and then for it to like when it finally gets into the final conflict, like, and he just pulls out all the phones, which kind of is like okay, like he's become so obsessed, and there is kind of like this theme of his obsession of it being documented.
Yeah,
and Michael B. Jordan's character, Steve, thank you. I want pizza. Brings up early. He was like, what?
It's just the name Steve is ruined for me from Multiplicity, right?
Like, yeah,
just the stupid clone calling them all Steve and their name is Doug.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve.
God damn it.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
When Steve and when they're talking, he's like, like, you ever like put down the camera? Like, don't you think like that puts like a little mask between you and like reality?
Yeah, and it's like that's what he's doing though.
Yeah.
He's like, doesn't it like put like a wall between you and the moment? And he's like, yeah, but that's what he's doing. He's disassociating via the camera.
And then when he ends up having his like true real moments without the camera, they are traumatic to him.
Yeah.
The girl in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I guess like just him recording him and his father. Like,
oh, that's interesting too, actually, because it all kind of the whole movie starts, and he even says, "I'll be recording everything from now on," and it's a way to deter his father from abusing him. And then that's an interesting thing too. But then, kind of like almost he didn't think about it. His traumatizing moments are also forever documented, like him being bullied and the throw up situation and all that. And it's almost like, especially when Steve is laughing, he almost didn't think about him being ridiculed via and that starts this kind of spiral. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't really think about that.
It's like the way that that Andrew deteriorates mentally in this is really sad, but you can see the pieces coming together to where when his father, who he shouldn't be, like accepting this negativity and believing what he's saying, when his father says, "You think they fucking like you?"
It gets under his skin.
It's that Stockholm syndrome of just like he's heard it so many times, and then now he's become a pariah again at school after becoming super popular. It's like he had that cool moment with as being a magician, and then he has this rise to top of like, I'm the star, and then he adjusts as quickly as you have that. And
even then too, there are like dialogue where he knows how, he's talking to his cousin Matt and kind of knows how off-putting he can be.
Yeah.
But he's also like, there's also this kind of weird moment, and it's because of his mental state, definitely. But it's like, he doesn't have like these social ideas down. Like, he keeps getting in trouble because he's filming people that don't want to be filmed. And he's not getting.
He doesn't have a lot of quick social cues.
Yeah, like you have the cheerleaders, which is the like, oh, he doesn't realize how creepy this is. Yeah. And in all honesty, too, from his perspective, he is being innocent with it. He's not.
But you see him also leering on women with the camera as well, which is like. Which then young boy's mind going into places, it's like he's like we're seeing where his focus is.
That's because even then he always is like, because the camera is looking at the entire field, but it's more right here.
Well, it's even like the girl dancing at the party.
Yeah. But yeah, and then he's just like, and he's just not getting the hint to like knock it off. And this guy, I was always like, dude, enough with the camera. Like, it's getting you in more situations than you need,
Yeah. I guess, like, just really quick, like, the way that these kids get their powers. And also, we're only really talking about Andrew. Like, Andrew, was it? Matt and Steve all get these, like, same powers. And the way, and you can kind of tell that each one kind of has, like, a little bit more of, like, better at some parts of it. Like Andrew just really gets good at all of it all around really quick.
Andrew is like naturally just it clicks with him like,
because he's a guy who lives in his head.
So he knows how to like make it work, because even then he's the one that really discovers like a lot of their new powers and things to do and how to do it. He's like, no, you want to envision you're putting the Legos together.
Let's put a pin in that, because I think that's really important to really discuss Andrew's relationship with each character in this as well.
Then Matt's really good at flying.
No, Steve.
I thought it was Matt.
No, Matt was the one that he couldn't figure out how to fly.
No, but he got really.
I see what you mean. Yeah, like he hit the plateau. He got over the plateau, and he's like, "Ha! Look at me!"
Because even Andrew says, "Finally, something you're really good at while they're flying." Because he's the one that can dip and weave, and like it comes to him naturally. Then what's Steve's?
I thought his was the flying, honestly, but besides of what their talents,
I think it's object manipulation, because he did a lot of the
how they get these powers we should probably like explain really quick.
A glowing rock underground,
which is
it's like a meteor or something.
But like it's really strange, like that's one thing of this movie is like, how do these kids get these powers? They find this like maybe a meteor or something that fell underground, but there's no like news story about anything or anything that is brought up on like where, how, what. It's like I feel like that's one of the things.
It looked like it had been there a while. I think that's what it was. It had been there a while and just no one had found it.
Yeah.
And then they talk about the sinkhole thing.
Yeah, there's that sinkhole, and then the cops are like, "Hey, you can't be in here. We're blocking this off." It's like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, maybe the sinkhole finally opened up that cavern it was in, and then
but it's just like I feel like it's interesting. It's just it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking it. It's like, Spider-Man got bit by a radioactive spider.
Yeah, I think you're well, even though
but the radioactive spider, we haven't explained why it's a radioactive spider. It's just like they find this hole with a rock in it that's glowing, that has a high pit, that they
like
somehow
pulsating.
They like bond with somehow.
Well, it's like I read it to my partner. I was like, "What is this about?" So I read the little synopsis thing, and she was like, "Kind of." I don't know if I'm into that. It sounds kind of stupid, or she said it's not like that negative, but she said something like, "This sounds kind of ridiculous," or something like that. And I just went, "Huh?" And she was like, "What?" I was like, 30-year-old man dresses as a bat and fights crime. I'm like, it's all stupid, babe. It's like, and then I was like. Space child lands on Earth and becomes basically a god. And then I can't remember. And then she goes,
he has the morals of an American.
No, yeah, and I was thinking Superman, but she said some other, like, another name that, I guess that does. I can't remember what it was. I was like, I guess that does.
Starman?
I don't remember. But I was just like, they're all, like, on paper, they're all kind of stupid.
When you deconstruct it down to, like, it's what it really, like, is. It's
say
like,
it in 10 words, it's stupid, Yeah. It's all stupid. But yeah, they bond with this rock. I mean, I liked that too. Because also
I liked the scene.
Well, the whole thing also kind of gave me like Power Ranger vibes, like this space thing embedding the powers on you.
But that's the thing is, like, I don't know. We don't know if it's space. We don't know if it's natural to this Earth. We don't know anything about this mysterious rock underground.
Yeah.
That was pulsating blue and then purple and then changed the gravitational pull around them and gave them nosebleeds, and all of a sudden they have telekinetic powers
and they're connected mentally now too, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
like loosely have like this bond. I liked it though, but that's the carrot of the movie, and it's like, I don't know, but something like that, it doesn't, for me personally, doesn't need to be overly explained. I'm like, cool, magic space rock, sweet.
So like the biggest thing for this movie though is like I was thinking about like whose hero's journey is this, or like whose journey are we, like it's more Andrew's. Like, he's our main character, and then Matt and Steve are important, and then Matt kind of becomes more important. Like, it's their journey together, but it's since Andrew is the one that has the camera the majority of the time, and we're seeing it through his perspective. There was parts of me that made me wonder, like, how much is this? Are we supposed to be? They're trying to make us feel sympathetic towards Andrew's situation. And makes like, oh yeah, I was an awkward boy who I looked at girls a little bit too long, and well, I learned I shouldn't, and blah, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And you're supposed to like connect with that, as opposed to like he's being kind of creepy. It's like how I always got it.
But yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like I was just saying too, it's like the amount of time I was like, dude, just put the camera down for 10 seconds. But
like, so it's like, how much are we building up this sympathy for him, so then we feel bad when he goes into his like villainy, his super villainy, where he goes and tries to rob the thugs, and then he goes to rob the gas station. Like, are we supposed to be like, oh no, man, don't do that, you're better than that?
I don't think so.
Or are we like, that's where I'm like, I'm confused on what I'm supposed to be experiencing as an audience now. You know what I mean?
I think you're supposed to do a hard shift. I think you're supposed to be, oh, this is...
Yeah, do it, man.
No, I don't mean like that. I mean like they want you to feel bad for Andrew until basically the point of the spider. And then you're like, oh, it's done. Like it's shifted, because then also he does things like,
oh, he starts shutting everybody out. Well, and and we're watching his journey of going from where this could be a really fun, cool thing, and we could do good with it. You know, that he won't. And also I really like, he's just like, I want to go to Tibet. Like, it just sounds peaceful. That's all this kid wants.
Yeah.
Like, from his entire life right now, his mother's passing away, his father's abusive. He finally has friends, but he still gets probably bullied by the other kids, which they've established. He just wants peace.
Yeah.
And he can't, and he just can't get it. And so it drives him to do things that he would never have done if he didn't have these powers.
I mean, I think also one of the best...
Unless there was a little bit of that in him before the powers.
That's what I'm saying, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the theme you're talking about with this kind of thing. You have now given him a loaded weapon without any kind of real... And that's why Matt's like, we need to make rules. But at that point...
Oh, and even just how disconnected Andrew was like, look, I don't know what the big deal is. Like, we got him out. He's safe. I could have saved him.
Yeah, well, but that's what I'm like at that point too. It's like you didn't already establish the rules, and like so now Andrew is aware of what. Like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah,
I can do this. But I honestly think like it almost goes like horror movie status, but when he's sitting there at the garage and he's having his manifesto moment, I was like, this is great. Like in a villain way, like this is really unnerving.
That's what it's like. This movie really does. It turns into, you're seeing a super villain origin story, because you see him get the power. You see the ability of like, he could become the hero, but then it comes down to nature versus nurture, between what's happening with his father and everybody around him, his environment. That's a very big thing. I think it's going to be a theme in both of these movies. The next one next week is the environment around you and how you react to it, or how it is reacting to you, and what you do with the powers that you have with the, Well,
because that's even the thing too. It's like, I feel like you're not supposed to feel bad for him too, because he starts doing these things, but the amount of... It's not even like defending himself or getting like a little bit of like revenge. It's like the amount of violence that he is now putting towards his aggressors. It's like, well...
when he just rips the fucking tooth.
He rips the teeth out
of the bullies.
And then sits there and explains how he's really meticulous.
Oh, man, that is an unsettling scene.
That's the thing, is his descent into like madness, I guess you would call it. Yeah, it's like you're supposed to, but I feel like it is this hard turn where they want you to be like I want you... like. The hard turn to not...
He's becoming disassociative.
Yeah, but the hard turn and not suddenly feeling bad for him anymore is also a really great moment, because as an audience member, because you're like, oh man, Andrew, I really... Oh, never mind. You're totally... You're off the deep end.
Well, then he becomes obsessed with this idea of apex predator.
Yeah, and that's his manifesto moment.
Yeah.
I was reading this thing about... And it's like... Go on YouTube right now. You can find that same rant from somebody. Like,
yeah, right.
and it felt like that.
Oh, that's chilling.
No, it felt like the Riddler moments in the new Batman. When he's talking, it's like it was that like make this country great again, kind of creepy ass vibe, and it was like great. You're like, I'm so uncomfortable. It was good. And then
January 6th.
Yeah. Then he crushes the car, and I was like, I definitely think this is how we got the Goblin role.
No, probably, yeah.
It was, I was like, oh yeah, here we got some Goblin right here.
It is really interesting. Is like just going down with like another big breaking point for him is the loss of Steve and what he accidentally, because like Steve.
That's my question. Did he actually do it, or does he just think he did it?
Yes, he did.
Well, I know he apologized for it, but it's lightning.
There was God damn, I keep forgetting his name. Matt explains, like, how can you explain no recorded lightning strikes in an area and Steve is found there dead? Like,
well, yeah, but I mean, they were up in the clouds. But also that was something weird too. If he got shocked by the lightning at that altitude, and and then they found him in a field. Wouldn't it also his body look like he had fallen 30,000 feet?
Unless Andrew put him there, and he's in an open field. Oh well, if you're like,
or like caught him and then like put him down, like because he did feel bad about it.
Yeah, I think he was manifesting energy around him, which caused they were in it's like because they were in a storm in a cloud.
But I'm just thinking telekinesis. You can controlling lightning. That seems like
even still the fact that Steve is up there. And Steve's the relationship that Andrew and Steve had, I think, is very important.
I think it's
because out of everybody's Matt feels like there's an obligation to be friends with Andrew because they're cousins.
And they have that whole conversation of do you like me?
He's like, well, I used to not like you. He's like, well, the fuck does that mean? But he's being honest, and I appreciate that. There's vulnerability and honest moments like that for character development.
Well, yeah, because even he says, "Do you like me?" He's like, "No, I didn't always, but I like you." And he goes, "You're such an asshole."
Yeah,
he's like, "This is what I'm talking about. You're hard to talk to."
Yeah,
you asked me a question, I'm being honest, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, I like you, but for a while I didn't."
But you see Andrew and Steve genuinely becoming friends through this entire thing, and it all starts with Steve coming up, be like, "Hey, you got the camera." Matt told me, come on, let's go check out this hole. And Steve just wanted having a good time, and he's like, "Dude, there's a bunch of girls in here. Why are you out here by a tree by yourself, man?" Yeah. He's like just trying to be a likable guy, and you see
one of my favorites. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And you see when they're by themselves, they have conversations that doesn't happen when Matt's around. When all three of them together, it's shenanigans
and clowning around. Yeah. But Matt, Andrew, and Steve would talk about their family life, and what they're going through in a very more intimate way.
Yeah, they're becoming really, really good friends.
Well, because even Matt in the beginning, in his arc, he's just so unlikable, quoting Nietzsche,
young. Yeah,
you're like, oh god, I know this guy.
I was this guy for a minute.
I know.
Yeah, we know. We know them.
Well, because even God, I wish I meant to make a note of it. Oh, here, one of the mixed reviews was Mark Jenkins at the Washington Post. Oh shit, I just lost it. It jumped up on me. I gave it a 50. A few more bucks or a little more thought for the script would have been a better investment than faking Seattle. The characters are introduced so quickly and their personalities are so thin that what happens to them has little weight. And there's a part of that I agree with, but that's also kind of what we were talking about with the trope thing.
Yeah.
It's it is thin and very much, okay, Steve's parents are probably going to get a divorce. She might be having an affair, but it's it works for what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's also well, I don't need to know when Steve dies, you're like, oh shit, that's a bummer. You're like, what the hell? And it's totally by accident, just in an angry moment, and it happens. But it's I mean, there's enough to these characters, and they're tropey, but it works for this angsty teenage thing.
Yeah.
It's for some reason, this movie makes me think of The Covenant. Do you remember that movie? It's more supernatural.
I don't think I've seen it.
They're 5 dudes in high school, but they're all 25. They're all clearly whatever. But they all are from this long.
This sounds really familiar. Yeah.
They all have these magic powers from their lineage. Yeah. If they use them too much before they're 18, they die or whatever. It's got that kind of feel and the angsty superpower thing. But Covenant was terrible. This is actually and again, both have the tropes. Yeah. But this one just played with it well.
Well, it's also this is deconstructing it, and it's putting it into the sense of a reality.
Yeah. And that's something that I really like about this and Brightburn when we do it. And it was kind of making me think, I was we kind of, because even Umbrella Academy is a great series. It's awesome, but it lives in this fantasy world. It has
its own container and aesthetic that it lives in.
Yeah, but something like this, I was you could actually take Chronicle and you could have made it into a mini series set in Chicago, Seattle, whatever, and that would actually be really interesting because then you could draw out a lot more stuff. And it's basically it's they're going through puberty twice or 2 types of puberty because. They have these powers that are awakening.
Like when in X-Men mutants.
Yeah.
They're say they have their own sexual hormonal puberty and their mutant power.
Yeah. And
puberty.
it's just an interesting take on it too because you're a teenager and you're dealing with all these feelings, whether it be like you said, sexual feelings, depression, whatever it might be. But then add a superhero element to it. I'm I'd watch that show.
Yeah.
be interesting.
It's actually,
and especially grounded in a reality of
yeah.
like the whole thing with like you were saying too, like when he pulled out the cameras, now we have all those angles. It was just, it was a cool idea.
Yeah.
But
it's really interesting. It's like the climax of this movie, how they started just using any type of like footage from anything around, which is to finish the narrative of it. And it starts to get a little lost in like, well, what exactly are we actually looking at right now?
Yeah. Like
where is this camera lens coming from?
Like, is it a
is it
traffic
an iPhone
cam or is it an iPhone?
Is it a body cam? Is it a car cam? Stuff like that. But that's also like, it gets so chaotic at that moment that you don't really necessarily have to know, because you're just so caught up in what's actually happening that you want to see it happen. You know?
Yeah, and it's also like I would say like this is actually a pretty solid superhero fight scene.
Yeah.
For like out of kind of nowhere, you're like, oh wow, there's like, it becomes like an action movie at the end.
Especially with how Matt's trying to refuse to just kind of use his powers until he has to.
Oh yeah, and this is also the moment too when you realize that this is where the dad is using the son as a scapegoat for everything.
Yeah,
and can't take any responsibility for his drinking or you know. And that's kind of been a theme, but this is when you finally actually see it, because the mom dies, right? And then he is like blaming him because he was out there looking for him.
Yeah, well, it's like while Andrew was out trying to get the money
to buy the medicine.
The father is now out trying to find where Andrew is, and during all of this, she passes away, and then I mean, it really like the abuse that the father does to Andrew is, I mean, it's in a way you can actually argue that they're using abuse as a device to explain why this person becomes a villain, that is the trope of a lot of villains.
Yeah. But it's also not. It's also real though.
Yes,
it's something that does happen.
It's an unfortunate reality.
Like, abuse can create a cycle where the abused becomes the abuser. You know, and that's basically what ends up happening. Is Andrew starts abusing his powers on people that don't have them.
Yeah.
But even like I don't know. I mean, that was just with he has all the burns and he's like doing this thing. Like I don't know.
Part of it gets a little over that.
It gets real superhero at the end.
Yeah.
You caught him. I dropped him. But I really like, I don't know. And they're like, I just like the powers, and I really do like the idea of taking and I remember like when I first saw this when it came out, thinking that was cool. Like the idea of just taking telekinesis, which is usually just, Jean Grey stopping the wave or whatever, but taking it and expanding it on what you could do with telekinesis, you know, the making of the shield, like a barrier, the flying. And it's like, and then even being a comic book nerd my whole life, I never really thought about the extent. It's kind of like what Logan did for me, like with what happens to an aging mutant.
Yeah. Especially one that is constantly healing.
Yeah.
Or then Professor X.
And his dementia and everything. I was like, I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about Chronicle too. I was like, oh, yeah, maybe telekinesis would be the power. Like take a pill, telekinesis, because it looks like you can do a lot of shit with that.
Take the yellow pill instead of the red pill or the blue pill.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, we need to be wrapping up soon, but I have one last thought about the very, very end of this movie when Matt is in Tibet with the camera saying his love note to Andrew.
I don't like it. Did you like it?
I understood the concept behind it.
It felt cheesy. It didn't feel genuine to me. Like I got the idea, but I didn't feel.
I mean, what was the idea for you? What was the idea?
Putting his cousin to rest. Just
it's like, so a big thing that I made a connection. It's like one thing I was like, why would he be speaking to Andrew as if like Andrew's going to see this? Because it's like a letter to Andrew, a video letter to Andrew through camera. But Andrew's already gone. Andrew's dead. He killed Andrew.
Yeah, with that statue that is not downtown.
No, it's not. Where is that statue? I was trying to figure it out.
They did a lot of filming in Toronto, which I'm assuming that maybe it's in Toronto.
No, not Toronto. In Vancouver.
Oh, I don't know.
Like half this film was filmed in South Africa. The other half was filmed in Vancouver.
Yeah. So I mean, either that's a statue in Canada or they just made a statue.
I think it's supposed to be reminiscent of Pioneer Square.
Yeah.
But anywho, I after kind of thinking about it, I kind of realized is that the video camera became
Andrew.
Yeah.
Because he always was talking to Andrew through the video camera.
Yeah. So then with him setting up, like, Andrew wanted to be in Tibet. He wanted peace.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take this idea of Andrew, this memory of Andrew. I'm going to set it here to leave him in peace in Tibet. And now he can be rested.
And he's just going to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then him speaking direct to the camera to Andrew he is speaking to Andrew through as if Andrew is the camera.
Well, and like we were saying too, because the camera really did become an extension of Andrew.
Yeah.
Especially throughout the entire movie. But then once he learns to control it just with his mind, and I mean, I also just think visually that I really liked that.
It was really cool.
Well,
it was also a great way to get the person behind the camera in front. Yeah. You know, and that's what an actor should, you should be seeing what an actor's doing.
Well, then it's also kind of like an interesting concept too, that in a sense, this camera became like his security blanket. Like he was hiding behind it, but then he got comfortable enough with his friends to have it floating around them, but it was always nearby. It was kind of an interesting thought.
Well, even just like when they're all these like, I think this may have been the best day of my entire life.
Yeah. Well, after the flying thing.
Yeah. And the airplane almost hitting them. Yeah, no. Yeah. I
think, like just even visually. I mean, yeah, some of the special effects, like the baseball.
It's a little outdated. 2012.
Yeah, but it's still like.
And it's also like.
It's forgivable.
For a $15 million budget. They fucking.
Yeah, it seemed like they kind of spent probably more time and money on their camera techniques rather than like CG. Stuff, because I was even reading, and it's technical and I want to get into it, but they did some interesting like tricks and stuff. So if you're ever, even if you want to read about it and you're interested in that kind of thing, they did some you're like, oh, that's kind of a clever way to do that. Yeah,
I couldn't find anything on that, so
there's a little bit of a breakdown on Wikipedia on some of the stuff.
I must have overlooked that then. Okay.
And it's just a quick little tidbit, but it's like, oh, that was an interesting way to do that. Like, okay, that's cool.
Overall, Carrot, where you at?
I'd give it a 3. Like, I think it's a pretty solid, like a good superhero movie that's tropey, but it's like also like for an origin, like, there's so many superhero origin movies. They're like, can we just like skip this? Like, I really appreciated that with Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We didn't do Uncle Ben again. Batman, we didn't need to do the Waynes getting, it's just like, yeah, we got it.
Well, I mean, I think this is also 2012.
No, yeah, but I just mean like for an origin. What I'm saying is usually I get checked out with origin movies because of that. I'm like,
but also this doesn't really feel like an origin movie. It's like you don't really know what this is becoming until it becomes what it becomes.
Yeah, but it's like in hindsight, this is an origin movie, and I think it's a pretty solid superhero. Like, it's got a good amount of drama, it's got a good amount of sci-fi, and then it's got so there's like a little bit in here for. Yeah, people that you can kind of like latch onto.
I feel I give like a 3.5 actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a solid 3 for me.
Okay.
Like I'm glad I bought it, and it was like $6.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will watch this again, and I think it'd be a good background noise. Just have it on.
It is kind of interesting though. Is like you keep talking about like expanding or like having a world that could like basing a world maybe off this or expanding this world. There was talks of a sequel.
And he said absolutely not.
No, he literally kept purposely delaying it so it would never happen.
Because he did, which I respect.
Yeah,
I think
I'm working on that script. Yeah, definitely working on that script.
He's like, I think he even said like, this is paraphrasing, but he's like, if they go ahead with it, I will not be directing it because it will be a piece of shit.
Pretty much.
And you're like, okay. It was supposedly like a sequel post these events with a female-led cast.
Yeah.
And touching on the themes of like cover-ups and conspiracy.
Oh yeah, the one that was announced in 2021.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a rebooting of it or
a
sequel.
Like that. Yeah. But
maybe the new sequel is like, we heard about this thing that happened in Seattle in 2012.
But too, if they do that sequel, they're gonna explain The Rock,
like The Craft.
It's gonna be fucking stupid.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
they're gonna explain The Rock, and you're gonna be like, I kind of liked my imagination just letting me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes when they explain stuff in like a sequel or whatever, you're like, I didn't need that to be explained. I was fine with just kind of
letting it be what it,
kind of loosey goosey. But I mean, yeah, I would recommend this movie to people that haven't seen it. If like I know they're into superheroes and stuff, I'm like, you should check out Chronicle. It's a cool watch. You know, my biggest annoyance with it is that Andrew.
Yeah,
I can't. I forgot how much I hated it until I watched. I was like, oh yeah, I hate this shit.
It's what I've noticed for you is you don't really like the over the top character crying out in like something like because in Dungeons and Dragons you killed my friend Andrew, stop. I'm just like and how do you feel about Revenge of the Sith? Like, I hate you.
I don't mind that one.
Okay.
The one, it's so funny because I was about to bring up Revenge of the Sith. Can you guess which one I do hate in that movie?
Anakin.
No.
Oh no.
Oh, I was so emotionally invested in that movie because I was like, that like I hate you. It felt like it's like there he is. Yeah. There he is. There's Vader. You know,
you were the chosen one.
Yeah, and he's crying. You're like, oh god,
you were my brother.
He just killed Padme.
I hate you.
He just killed Padme. This is everything, and then fucking no. That ruined everything. That ruins the entire movie for me. I can't stand that. And it's like also with that movie too. It's this amazing lightsaber battle and everything just goes to shit. And you're like, oh, we are leading into A New Hope. Yes. And then that happens. And I'm like, I hate you.
And then you're burning in the Safar.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a weird way to fucking. Yeah. Chronicle.
Well, yeah, but like with that, yeah. Chronicle's
we need to wrap up.
I'm wrapping up. Yes, Chronicle. I gave it a 3 out of 5 for this kid.
Yeah.
We're gonna continue on with our superhero kind of
supervillain
dark arc thing. With what year is it? 18?
17 or 18. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I didn't realize is as new as it is.
And you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna do Brightburn.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it when it very first came out.
Oh, okay.
Which is kid, evil Superman, I guess.
More or less, yeah.
Is kind of the gist of it.
Well, I mean, it's if Superman, if there was different circumstances when Superman,
and it's kind of like if I remember correctly, it's kind of like a Carrie kind of vibe horror movie because of his like abilities.
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, check that out.
Oh, they also like Josh Trank took a lot of like an inspiration from like Carrie and stuff like that from it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So join us next week. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to do it. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob.
Sorry, the person behind you is distracting me super hard. But,
Tommy and Jacob.
Did we say Instagram and like and subscribe?
I said like and subscribe.
I was really checked out. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Okay. All right, bye, guys.
Bye. Andrew!